Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. So as you can see behind me, I've been hard at work sanding the AE86. Now I'm not gonna lie, this is a process that I have kind of been procrastinating on because I didn't really want to do it. It's a lot of work, very time consuming, kind of annoying, but it's a process that has to get done in order for this car to be ready for paint. So as you can tell, when I started this thing, my jacket was black, the floors were clean, but not so much anymore. I still have a couple of things to do in order to get this thing all sanded down. I do need to still sand this fender and the rear side of the car. I haven't quite gotten to that yet, but other than that, all the other panels on the outside have been sanded. Hood, passenger fender, roof, the quarter panels, doors, all that good stuff. So it is starting to get there. It's just taking a really long time. I'm gonna do a quick walk around the car to kind of show you the progress. Here is the hood. I don't know if you can really tell, but man, it's getting super smooth. I have been sanding with 220 grit sandpaper, which is still a little aggressive, but I'm still trying to find all the highs and lows and kind of block them out before we move on to a higher grit sandpaper. As you can see over here, I'm having a little bit of issues with the quarter panel. This is where we welded in a piece of metal to delete the side marker there, and it does look like this is a little bit low, and here's a little bit of high spot, so I'll have to take some body filler, kind of smooth this out. Back in the back, trunk's looking really good. I thought I was gonna have a lot more hassle with this trunk. I didn't think it was gonna be nearly as straight as it was, so it's turning out pretty good. And this side looks really good. Door turned out awesome. Down towards the bottom on the rockers looks really good too. That particular spot that we spent forever on trying to get to look right looks pretty good. I think it's going to look awesome when it's all painted up. There's a couple of little high spots over here that we need to take care of, but nothing too major. But anyway, that's a quick recap of where I stand. Let's go ahead and hop back onto the car and start sanding a little bit more. Alright, so let me update you all on where we are with the AE86 and the current condition that it's in. As you've seen from this video, I've pretty much been sanding this entire time. And I'm pretty proud to say we got the whole car pretty much sanded down to 220. And everything is relatively straight. We did run into a couple of problem areas, but I'll go over that here in just a second. But I think we're at a pretty good spot. Jeez. All right, so here is the car, and it probably looks a lot worse than it actually is. This is all from different layers of paint. I had an epoxy primer originally, and then of course coated the whole car or all the panels in high build primer. But everything actually is turning out pretty good. I'm super excited with how that's turned out. For being an actual replacement, I used that fender back there. I used the bottom portion of that fender in order to fix this. So it's not going to be perfect, but it looks pretty freaking good. Pretty close to the other side. I think it looks kind of weird on camera. Maybe that's just all the dust that's there, but turned out pretty good, and I'm pretty proud of that. That was a really hard apart. So everything over here is pretty straight for the most part. I don't have anything that I really need to work on. There was a little low spot right there that I had to put a little bit of body filler there, but wasn't too bad. Here's some metal spots that kind of wore through. I don't think it's really a high spot. Everything around it is sanded and feathered out, so I don't think this is necessarily a high spot. Not 100% sure, but another coat of high build would probably take care of all that. I mean, look at that. That car is straight. Awesome. I had a couple of spots right here that I used some filler to fill in some divots here. You can't even really see the filler, but it's sanded down all nice and good. Same deal over here. I had a couple of spots that were a little low. This is actually something I just did, but the trunk seems like it's coming out pretty good. Onto the rear panel, this portion I think is pretty much at a good spot. I know I've been messing with this rear panel for a very long time. That's a majority of what took so long when doing this bodywork section. But the rear panel, can't really tell all that much, but hopefully it'll pick it up on camera. Everything looks pretty straight, body lines look good, and I'm happy with that. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but for a DIY, first time doing this, looks pretty good. So moving on to the other side. So this is one of the problem areas that I ran into, that spot in particular, and obviously this right here. I had a couple of high spots, and you probably saw in one of the time-lapse videos where I sanded it all down, and I just had a couple of high spots, a couple of low spots I didn't really know about previously. So I just took some body filler and did a real quick skim coat over that whole piece. Most of that's going to get all sanded away. You can even see how thin it is, like right there. You can see the epoxy primer underneath it, so it's not very thick at all. But I'll take some 120 grit sandpaper, shape all that up, and then take some 220 and get a really nice even surface after sanding all that down. Hopefully that'll take care of all the high spots and the low spots, and this panel will be 100% straight. That's our biggest issue, and I think we've taken care of it. I just pretty much got to wait for the body filler to cure. Over here was another little spot. That's going to take a little bit of work, a little bit thick right there, but that's okay. It's all going to get sanded off. There was a ding right there in the middle, and I didn't see it until I started sanding, so that's getting filled, and then there was also a little ding over there too. For the most part, this door is decent. I might need to put some body filler on this edge to kind of line up with this, but again, this quarter panel has been replaced in the past, so I don't think it's going to line up 100%, but again, unless you were really looking for it, you really wouldn't know that it was off when it's painted, so, I mean, you can tell just on the side, I mean, it's real close. And moving up here to the passenger side fender, this spot, or this fender, I mean, looks really good. Couple of bare spots, but again, I think those aren't really high spots. I think this just sanded down to where I got through the metal when I was block sanding. Everything looks really good. And this line, dude, oh my gosh, it matches up so well. Look at that. Everything's perfect with this fender. The fitment is on point. And almost last but not least, this is the hood. The hood looks pretty good. It's all sanded down nice and smooth. I don't know if you can tell in my previous videos, you could see the texture. So you can get this to zoom in. You could see the texture. It almost looked like a gritty sandpaper almost. And now everything's just nice and smooth. And it's like this across the whole car. All right, now to the final piece. Up here, the roof. So it's super dusty up there, but you can see some high spots, and particularly right here, along here, this right here is a low spot. This is a little bit high. I'm gonna need to use some body filler and basically do the same thing that I did over there and do a nice skim coat pretty much from this side forward on here, and then the same thing on the other side. It's pretty much mirrored. It dips down where the door is. It's just a little bit low right in here where it meets the door. But we'll get some body filler, do a nice skim coat along here and the other side as well, and sand it down nice and smooth. All right, so where does that leave us? So the car, for the most part, is sanded in 220 grit sandpaper minus the couple of spots I have to sand down with sand the body filler down. But the next plan of action is to clean up all of this dust and everything, clean up the garage and all that kind of stuff, and then we are gonna take some wax and grease remover and spray the whole car, clean it all off, 100%, clean it off, and then we're gonna coat it again with another coat of high build primer. I know it's all this work for pretty much having to repeat the process again, but we're going for that perfect paint job. And I think now that everything is mostly straight and we're taking care of the little problems here and there, one more coat of high build primer and then taking some guide coat, which is basically just kind of some black powder, and putting it on there is really gonna dial in the straightness of the car. We're gonna know exactly where there are some problem areas, if we've missed any, and we're gonna get this car pretty much 100% straight. After that, then we are going to move to final sanding before paint, which is probably gonna be about 400 grit or so, maybe a little bit higher, I don't really know. I need to do a little bit of research on what grit to use to prep it for paint. Then once we get all that sanded down, we're gonna build a paint booth in here and finally paint this car. We also need to decide on a paint color, so if you all have any suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below. All right guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you like this sort of content, please smash that thumbs up button. And also, if you want to see more AE86 sort of videos and other DIY garage projects, please consider clicking the subscribe button below. It definitely helps out the channel. Stay tuned for more AE86 content, and until next time, I'll see you later.